Okay, I am back with what's missing from the science of reading. We are starting with the issue of heart words. If you have ever seen heart words, you know that they involve some hearts. So these are heart words. Look up heart words on the internet and look under images, and you'll see all kinds of manifestations of this concept. The concept is that you take a word that doesn't follow a phonics rule and you highlight it with a heart at the letter level of where it's not following the rules. And so this presumes that the learner is going to look at this word, and if they aren't given some kind of an alert, they're going to say what or doez or two or hua or wak. I don't know. The point is here that we don't just read to recognize what the word is. We bring sound files with us of the language that we do know. For second language learners, that's going to be more limited. They're growing their vocabulary. And so they need some support, as do vulnerable readers. But we do need to start with the sound file, the one in the mind, so that we can connect. And we'd like to share with you what that looks like. Now, in the letters training, and I'm going to talk about what this looks like in actual training, because it does start with what messaging the teachers receive. And so when my colleague Laura was in the letters training, this is what that moment looked like for her. The presentation was the word from, and down in the audio transcript right here, it says something like, it says to teach a word by using a grapheme. Begin by using the grapheme tiles to spell it on the board. So children have these tiles and they place them together. And then the teacher is to instruct them to draw a red heart over the part of the word that is irregular. Now, what is irregular anyway? If I say from, that is a pretty regular word in my experience, right? From. I know this word. I'm from California. I'm from Venezuela. It's one of the first words that anybody will learn because it's highly functional. It is a function word. So from as a word is simply a word. In its written form, you quickly can learn that it is spelled this way, but to call it irregular because it doesn't behave the way the letter, the phonics teaches you that this should be ah, which is typical, that phonics starts by saying the letter O makes the ah short O sound. We'll get to short and long in a minute, okay? Therefore, it's irregular. Therefore, you should mark it with a heart. That's a lot of cognitive load. There's a lot going on there to decide, therefore, heart. Secondly, very important here. So learners are being alerted that there's a challenge here, and yet there's no answer. It's just saying, watch out, and I find it kind of passive aggressive, like, we love this, but not enough to tell you the answer or to get you over the line. And so if they already know it, they know it. And if they don't, then there's no hope. And this heart icon, once again, offers no help. So what can we do? First, I think what's important with color vowel is we have to think about sound and letters in a fundamentally different way, and we do. So we're going to take a non-phonics approach to letters for a moment. And I'll ask you this question. What sound does this letter O make? Okay. If you're in a phonics state of mind, you're going to answer ah, that short O sound, because that is the first one in a phonics sequence that we would teach learners, that here's the letter O, it makes the ah sound. Why is that the first way we teach it? Well, because it is, and there is some theory behind that, but let's just look at it as a fairly arbitrary decision, because it could actually make something else, right? Like if we think of the word go, what sound does the letter O make? Go, 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 whoa, 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 go, whoa. So there's this sound O that the O can make. And rather than worry about calling it, in this case, I think it would be called a long O in the phonics world. But what's long about it? Go, it kind of sounds long, right? But I could also say go, and it would still be that sound. So it's nothing intrinsically long in sound. go doesn't look long. It's just kind of an O. So this terminology is a little confusing. And again, we're coming to that in another part of the presentation. But for now, we don't have to call this long O. We can call it something else. It's simpler. And that is for the color vowel system, it's called rose boat. This is an anchor phrase. It's also a name for the sound. So we can call this a rose word or a rose sound. Go, rose boat, go, a rose word. Okay. What if we change this to this word? Two, woo, 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 woo. So here's this woo, 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 woo sound. And we would call this in phonics a long U or some kind of a U, depending on the phonics program. Okay. It starts to be in this world called by another letter name, in other words. And that's rather, can we agree that that's really confusing? We're looking at the letter O, but we're going to call it a long U. And yeah, pretty confusing. Let's call it blue moon. This is a blue sound. It is a blue word. And we know this and can remember this so easily because the sound is embedded in the anchor phrase. Blue moon, ooh, two. Easy. Great. How about we change that word up to stop? So we had go, we had to. Now, is this word, maybe we say, okay, we have a long and a short version of O, so-called, and we could call this stope or stoop. Now, so we know this is stop. We want our learners to know that it's stop because I think it's pretty clear. We can't rely on looking at the letter to know how the word sounds. But we can mark it up in a very simple scaffold, and that's what we're doing here. So sta, that sound, we don't need to call that short O anymore. I could say stop or stop. There's nothing short about it. And so we can call that olive sock, stop, right? Same sound 3 times. We use this awareness all the time. We use it in poetry, songwriting. This is assonance, repeating the same vowel sound multiple times. Okay, so olive, sock, stop. Great. So we'll call that olive. Okay. How about this word? Here's another O. What sound does it make? One. Now, a lot of times when I ask teachers this question, they'll say wa is the O sound, wa. And I'm like, well, watch out. There's an invisible consonant in this word, w. So if we get past that invisible W that's at the beginning of that word, what is the vowel sound? W, right? In phonics, we'd call that a short U. Again, very confusing, like, oh, it's a short U. No, we can stay with just calling this the letter O and saying that it makes a cup of mustard. It is a mustard word. That's as simple as it can be, right? This phrase is a little longer than the others, rose boat, blue moon, or olive sock. It's a little longer, and in time you'll see that there's actually a deeper feature to a cup of mustard. Okay, but for now, let's just call it mustard. All right. How about this word? What sound does the O make in woman? Woman. Woman. Yeah, so it's not woman or woman or woman or what. It could be woman for some people. For some of it's woman. I'll go with my dialect of English for now, but the color vowel is very flexible this way. So in this presentation, I'll go with what I hear from myself because I'm the foundational referent for myself, right? I speak in this way and I'll use it. So for woman, we'll call this wooden hook, woman. So woman is a wooden word. Okay, easy enough. Okay. What about the plural? We went from woman to women, women. So I'm helping you notice that the E here is what is the change, right? So here's woman with the A, here's women, and yet the sound change, woman, women, is actually in the first syllable. It's right here in the O, right? So we have a wooden hook, woman, and then this one becomes women. Yeah. So you'd say, oh, that's a short I. It's just getting more and more bizarre, right? For the learner to have to take this in and say, oh, this O is a short U and this one's a short I and that one is a long O and a long U. Let's go ahead and sidestep that and get simple. Okay. Silver, pin, women. Right? Good. How about wow? Yeah. Wow. Brown cow. Wow. It's impressive if you didn't think this already or know this already. We have so many different ways that the letter O can end up sounding. Okay. And now we have a pretty clean, efficient way to name those various sounds. And that's a start. Okay. So English spelling is not phonetic. And I think that is one of the, I'll call this a dishonesty that is perpetuated by phonics systems that says we're going to start from the beginning. And the beginning starts with the letter A that says ah. And in phonics, every letter has makes a sound, and it's presented as each letter making one sound until later in the system, then it's revealed actually it can make another sound. And so the learner is trailed along, is pulled along on this trajectory where they have to be patient. They have to withstand a great deal of cognitive dissonance when they see other words, but they're not really allowed to talk about them yet. Oh, those are sight words. We'll put them over here. Oh, that's a different word. It's more advanced. We'll put it over here. Stay with me right here, right now, just this word. With color vowel, we can talk about any word of English at any time. What the learner brings to the table, we can work with. We don't have to wait. We don't have to cordon off. We don't have to protect, because our learners are already enveloped in a world of spoken English to some extent or another. And that is the foundation for building literacy. So this is the color vowel chart upon which our anchor phrases and images are built. Let's look at it, okay? So the chart itself is a map of the inside of the mouth facing in this direction, okay? Where my tongue is toward the front, over here at E, yeah. And so it can show the relative movement of the tongue, jaw, and lips in creating these various vowel sounds. Green TE is up at the top because your jaw is up high. You might already recognize this is very similar to many other approaches to teaching vowel sounds. But I would say like the vowel valley, for example. The big difference here is that we have a picture of the continuity, the flow of movement in the mouth, that these are not just digital, single, different vowels that are charted, oftentimes as little pictures, okay? I didn't include a picture here, but look up Vowel Valley images and you'll see what I'm talking about, okay? The problem of keeping them as separate ideas is that learners have a hard time understanding, and teachers too, the relationship among these, that that these two sounds are very closely located in the space of the mouth. And I'm so glad we no longer have to call these things like long E and short I, because those two terms sound so different. Long, short, EI, and yet you may not be spelling with those letters and the words that are here. And so we're able to really just notice the similar location of these two sounds, green and silver, or a. So we have red and a, gray. They're very similar. And so if you've ever wondered why some readers will struggle with the difference between so-called short E and so-called long A, again, they sound so different, short and long, red and E and A. And so why are they struggling? Why can't they tell the difference? Now we get a sense that here's and here's A, and they're close for a reason. Okay, we'll again talk a little bit more about that when we get to long and short vowels. Great. So this is the color vowel chart. And just to give you a glimpse, these are the iconic images that go with each of the color vowels. Okay. Notice here that we don't have to have categories of, in this sort of holistic image, we don't have to have these categories of which ones are long or short or tense or lax or all of these other ways that we could talk about vowel sounds. For learners and for the simplicity that teachers need for their learners, the chart is one place that learner and teacher can spend time to locate, name, and explore a vowel sound. Okay. So let's get back to the question of heart words. Before, this was marked up with a heart. You're like, oh, watch out. You got to put this in your heart. You have to memorize it. And now we can do something much more functional. We can simply mark up a word as needed with the anchor images. And so a cup of mustard from, and a learner can do this very pretty quick onboarding to have them apply the sound that's in the anchor phrase into the word where the line is. That line tells you where the sound is, which letters comprise the sound. Sometimes you'll have two letters like the EA in bread, for example. So both of those would be underlined. In this case, it's just the letter O. So we have a cup of mustard from. Okay. So again, so all words are treated equally when we use the color vowel markup. The word from is not considered irregular anymore. We simply mark it as needed. Okay. Learners know where the stress is. And if you don't think it's important to know where stress is now, we'll be getting into that some more. But even in a one-syllable word, knowing that this is where the time is spent. Where are you from? Okay. Where are you from? When it's at the end of a sentence, we need to spend time on that. That's a stressed word. It's a focus word of the whole question. And later on, we can talk about how from, if it's inside of a phrase, can become quite reduced. I'm from California. I'm from, okay. So there's another behavior when it's not the focus. And all of this is embedded, by the way, in a cup of mustard. I was kind of alluding to that earlier. Okay. All right. So this has been a quick talk about what we can do differently from so-called heart words. I think heart words are a plague on teaching. I think they deliver a frustrating message, and yet they invite teacher and learner to do a lot of arts and crafts around the concept and create lots of pretty, materials. If you look in Teachers Pay Teachers, you will see a lot about heart words. Just do any Google image search and you'll see what people are spending their time on. We do not need to spend time on this. We can solve this problem. We can address it. We can be forward thinking and move forward in the progress of the child or the learner. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in our next portion, which will be dedicated to the question of stress, how we can teach stress more effectively. Thank you.